Luke is very fond of talking about how whenever I'm not here, the show starts on time. So I would like for you guys to note that he's not here and the show almost started on time. So clearly it's actually him amplifying my lateness. And that's why whenever we're both here, the show is late. Yes, that is the obvious conclusion that we can draw here. So, as you guys probably noticed already, and if you didn't, then hopefully the part where I pointed out that Luke's not here would have drawn you to this conclusion. Luke is not here! He is over in Computex, and so the first topic of the day is actually something that I should probably do after the intro. Right, so we've got a great show for you guys today. We have all of our Computex coverage, some of the highlights from that. We've got AMD unveiling many more details about their upcoming Fiji, although it looks like we're going to have to wait a little bit for the rest of it. Nvidia launches mobile G-Sync, which by the way, I have in-house already, and tons of monitors. Oh yeah, right, the huge news this week, Valve pulled a 180 on their customer service, and they're offering, well, okay, whatever, I'll tell you guys about it later. For now, let's roll the intro. Oh, come on! One of these days, that's gonna work, and then I will be happy. So right now, you guys are, you know what? Forget it then. Sponsors today, lynda.com, Freshbooks, and Dollar Shave Club. There you go. We are just, I don't care. We're just not going to have an intro. I give up. You know what? I've got some people saying they thought that Luke would call in. He said that last week, but quite frankly, it's 7 a.m. over there right now, or 7:30. And if you guys noticed some skepticism on my part when he was saying that he was going to call in, it was because I can do time zones, and I knew that he was like straight up A, going to be probably not awake at that time, and B, I knew he was going to be busting his butt over the course of the week, getting a bunch of great coverage of Computex for you guys, and therefore probably not in any condition where he would want to, or I would even want him to be doing an hour-and-a-half live stream, because they have absolutely kicked ass over at Computex. In fact, we can go, and I don't think there's anything here that's like super top secret, but I'm gonna post some of the links. And you guys should definitely check this out later. If you're watching the archive, I will link these below the video. But the Corsair Bulldog, huge deal over at Computex. Corsair, not necessarily because of the Corsair Bulldog, but because it's going mainstream. Guys like Silverstone have been trying to do the whole, yeah, we've got like a full-size graphics card in a really small form factor or small internal volume enclosure for some time. Ncase released the M1, which was this super small full-size graphics card thing. Well, now a mainstream case manufacturer, and it's kind of funny for me to say that because I still remember when they launched the 800D, and the store that I worked for was like nervous about bringing in too many because a Corsair case? Gee, I don't know. Will it work? Will it not work? Yeah, it turns out they're a mainstream case maker now, and they are acknowledging the small form factor console size case. Very cool stuff. Next up, we've got, what's the other one? Oh yeah, MSI desktop GPUs for their AIO and laptop. Now, MSI hasn't completely redone the whole GS30 Shadow concept. In fact, what they were showing off was same laptop, but now they have a sexier enclosure for it. So instead of being stuck with that ginormous external box that just had a standard ATX power supply in it, they have something that is a little bit sexier. So that's pretty cool too. Ah, yes, GTX980 Ti variant. So always a big hit. It's funny because it blows me away every single time how much you guys love the latest high-end graphics cards. Our GTX980 Ti review has 400,000 views, and that went up, what, a week ago? That's like Scrapyard Wars levels of viewership in the first week. That's absolutely crazy. So Luke actually highlighted a couple of aftermarket designed 780 Ti's. One from Asus, one from Gigabyte. Did I say 780? I keep doing this. You know what's really funny? 980 Ti. I know. I get out of here. 980 Ti. I know. I actually started hearing rumors about the GTX 980 Ti. Probably around the same time you guys started hearing rumors about it, and a lot of the time there's a lot of truth to the rumors. And so I reached out to my Nvidia contact. I was like, yo dog, can I get a sample of the 780 Ti? And I did it not once, but twice. Twice in the first email. My subject line was blah, 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 something 780 Ti. Hey, blah, 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 something 780 Ti. And he replied to me. He's like, yeah, sure, I can send you a sample, but it's like kind of old. And I'm just like, you troll. You knew what I meant. You knew what I meant. You troll. And then when I sent a follow-up email, I don't even think I got an answer, because Nvidia are like the kings of, if it ain't out, it ain't being talked about. They are pretty good at keeping secrets. So yes, 980 Ti, non-reference 980 Ti's. And then one of the other big ones, you guys should save these URLs for later if you haven't already checked out the videos. This is another really big one. Inwin launched like the most bazonkers, or announced, I don't think it's actually available yet, announced like the most bazonkers case ever. Check this out. Oh yeah, I do want to do a huge thanks to our sponsors over at Computex. That's lynda.com and MSI. Look at this thing. This is the kind of stuff that like concept cars are made of. Like typically you expect a case like this to just be like a one-off that some modder made. Not the case at all. This will be an actual case that you can actually buy. Here's some footage from Brandon of the thing transforming. Look at that. I mean, is that not ridiculous? Electrician training. Really? I guess I could be an electrician. Sure, why not? That lighting, holy crap. Inwin is one of those companies where like 5 years ago, as far as I could tell, they only made cheapo commodity cases and like bad power supplies. And then all of a sudden they decided to like, okay, we're gonna do like tempered glass side panels on this one. We're gonna do like this crazy transforming thing. And they decided to totally shake up the case industry. I don't know if they're shaking it up necessarily in terms of sales volumes, because some of those products have been pretty darn expensive, but they are definitely shaking it up in terms of design, which is very cool stuff. So let's get into the news for this week. Our first, and I'm gonna have to be the one, so this was posted by Z Mule, and I'll have to be the one who posts these links in the forum for you guys, unfortunately, because I don't have my lovely assistant this week. But AnandTech reports that the GTX 980 Ti shows a significant difference in pixel fill rates compared to the GTX Titan X. And what's interesting about this is the fact that their real-world performance is so similar depending on who you ask. So I was, hold on, first we'll go through, so in synthetic performance tests, you'll see a similar performance between the two cards in general, but the 980 Ti loses 2 polymorph engines in test mark due to losing 2 SMMs, though that doesn't really hinder the 980 Ti in gaming or in that test overall. The 980 Ti loses some rasterization throughput from the SMM lost, but the 15% drop is larger than can be accounted for by the 2 SMs, which account for approximately 10%. Right now, there's 5% that cannot be accounted for at this point in testing. So the 980 Ti is actually a little bit of a mystery right now. So there's some weird differences in pixel fill rate, there's some weird differences in test mark, and there's some weird stuff that I can't really account for in the real world performance as well, because I was talking to the NCIX guys, and they had 980 Ti as a clear loser to Titan X. Whereas actually in the AnandTech review and in my review, I had it pretty damn close. And I was pretty sure at the time of releasing mine that the difference could be accounted for by my 980 Ti boosting up higher than my GTX Titan X. But based on some of these synthetic tests over at AnandTech, we could be looking at something a little bit deeper than that. And Nvidia has been doing this lately where they really don't want to talk about the architecture of the chip a lot. They tried to pull that off with GTX 980 and 970, and whether unintentionally or intentionally, and I'll leave it to whoever wears whichever color of tinfoil hat they wear to determine, you know, what they thought. I personally don't think Nvidia intentionally screwed up the specs of the 970 Ti. What happened was because they didn't give the press a lot of information about the architecture, that wasn't discovered for months, and it turned into VRAM gate with people trading in their GTX 970s and demanding full refunds because it didn't have the maximum memory bandwidth for the last 500 megs of that 4 gig frame buffer. So hopefully we're not looking at anything like that. The reality of it is it doesn't seem to be affecting 4K gaming performance in any meaningful way. That's validated by all of my 4K testing on the card, so it looks like a kick-ass card. Hopefully this doesn't this is not going to be any kind of an issue. Asus is showing off a new professional grade 4K monitor. This was posted by the Gauge on the forum. I'm going to go ahead and I'm pretty much going to treat the whole show today, by the way, guys, like rapid fire, because I straight up am not going to I'm not going to be able to hit all these topics if I don't do that. So the source here is pcdiy.asus.com, and this thing looks absolutely sick. Asus has really stepped up their game in terms of monitors, going from just being kind of cheapo commodity stuff all the way up to some pretty fantastic displays. I mean, the ROG Swift PG278Q was undeniably, in my mind, the best gaming monitor on the market when it launched. It has since it's got some tough competition right now for me from Acer's 4K G-Sync IPS, as well as from BenQ's XL2730Z, not because I think the 2730Z is necessarily a better monitor, but because it comes in at a significantly lower price. It has FreeSync but not G-Sync, so AMD gamers are going to have to choose that anyway if they want variable refresh rate. And on top of all that stuff, the BenQ monitor supports additional inputs, which right now any G-Sync monitor is not going to be able to do. So this one looks pretty fantastic. It's 4K, of course. It's geared towards professionals. It features 100% Adobe RGB color gamut. It's got 138 pixels per inch, which is going to make sense since it's a 32-inch monitor, and supports a 10-bit it has a 10-bit display with a 16-bit lookup table, which is important because the way that a monitor approximates a color behind the scenes, so with the more granularity it can do that, actually the better it can represent it on the panel itself, even if the panel can't actually display as many colors as the lookup table can understand. Nvidia launches mobile G-Sync. The original poster here is Good Bytes, and we've got a number of different sources here. I guess I'll go ahead and fire up the AnandTech one, since I love those guys. They're good guys over there. Good old Ryan Smith and Dr. Cuttress, and I'm sure I'm forgetting someone else who's really nice. Those are the guys that I sort of have actually chatted with anyway. What do we have to say about it? Always synchronized, variable overdrive. Actually, variable overdrive is kind of important. I can talk a little bit about that, but not too much. SLI support, windowed mode support. So G-Sync is actually getting a fair bit of cool stuff. Windowed mode support's a big one. A lot of people prefer gaming in full screen windowed mode, and that was not supported in with G-Sync up until now. So they went ahead, they launched that along with the 980 Ti. Variable overdrive is something I didn't talk about at all in my 980 Ti video, even though it's news that came out around the same time. And what it means is, okay, so pixel response times, when you talk about gray to gray or black to white or whatever, however LCD manufacturers want to talk about pixel response times, is basically the amount of time in milliseconds that it takes for an individual pixel on average to go from one color to another color, whatever color shift we're looking at. So gray to gray would be gray and then back to gray. So pixel response times are a factor for color reproduction, because if you have a moving object across the screen and the pixels can't respond fast enough, you're going to have like a weird color ghost behind moving objects where there is a high contrast line. So something like Freelancer was a great example of this. A bit of an older game now, but so are most of the games that I've logged serious hours in. And on my old Dell 24-inch monitor, I really noticed that whenever the wingtips of my spacecraft moved around, there was a serious, we used to call it, we called it ghosting, and then we decided that wasn't right, and then we called it motion blur. I think we're back to calling it ghosting. I don't know, whatever. There's a trailing discoloration behind wingtips whenever there's a high contrast line. Now, variable refresh rate throws a real monkey wrench into this, because what you can do through a feature called overdrive is you can actually push the pixels harder to change faster, and that's how you're able, that's one of the ways that you can reduce pixel response time and reduce this motion blur. But variable refresh rate, so when the pixels are actually being told to refresh at uneven intervals, can cause not necessarily a blurry artifact behind a moving object, but what it can cause is differences in the stage that the pixels are at in terms of switching colors, depending on how quickly the whole panel is refreshing. So Nvidia's basically come out with a way to have overdrive applied on the fly according to how quickly the monitor is refreshing, and that's a new G-Sync feature. But the big one, the one I'm supposed to be talking about, is mobile G-Sync, and this was causing waves right around the same time as VRAM Gate, because it was kind of revealed through a site that was using a driver that Asus had accidentally leaked to them, revealed that there was a particular Asus laptop, I believe it was the G751, that could be tricked into running G-Sync, but it wasn't quite working. PC Perspective did a great follow-up on it where they really investigated it, found out it wasn't quite working right, but what this revealed was that G-Sync could run without a dedicated G-Sync scaler chip, and in fact in notebooks it was speculated at the time that was how it would be run because of power constraints and space constraints on notebooks. So, so that looks like what has finally happened. So there you go. The one that we actually have here in-house is not from Asus. In fact, we didn't get it sampled by Nvidia either. It's a company called Sager or Sager. I'll find out before I do my review what the correct pronunciation is for it. But they make laptops, and they've sent us one of their models that actually has a 4790K desktop CPU in it. It's got a GTX980M, and it's got a 75 Hz variable refresh rate 1080p IPS display in it that I have played around with a little bit now, and I gotta tell you guys, G-Sync on mobile makes a lot of sense, just like it makes sense on a desktop to me. I love variable refresh rate, and yeah, it's a great gaming experience. So it uses embedded DisplayPort. Remember, guys, that laptops have already had some manner, certain ones, some manner of variable refresh rate for some time. It was used as a power saving feature. So now it's using embedded DisplayPort in order to enable this particular feature. There's no power consuming chip required, and it's actually very similar to how AMD FreeSync functions on the desktop side. So those two technologies should perform quite similarly on mobile. Now, something that is not clear as of yet is whether Nvidia is going to enable G-Sync module-less G-Sync on the desktop and adopt an open standard or do whatever else it is down the road. But the word on the street and what Nvidia has said publicly is that there's more that they can do with the G-Sync module than what they can do without the G-Sync module. So mobile G-Sync is going to be better than no G-Sync or no FreeSync, but mobile G-Sync might not necessarily ever be able to be as good as desktop G-Sync. So stay tuned for that. Let me just see if I'm missing anything else. Apparently Optimus is not available with mobile G-Sync yet, since there's no support from Intel as of yet. And I guess that's pretty much it. Yeah, other than that, it's pretty much the way G-Sync works. So AMD Fiji was somewhat unveiled at Computex. So this was posted by Dr. Deconstruct on the forum. Let's go ahead and post this link in here. Hey, look at that! I can get 4,000 of you to watch even if I don't have Luke. Maybe I should just get rid of him entirely. Because what do we get? About 6,000 when we do have Luke? Yeah, okay, I guess he's still pulling his weight around here. I'm just kidding. I feel weird. I feel weird hosting the show without having Luke here accompanying me, but I totally understand he needs to sleep. They've done a great job at the show. Let's go ahead and pull this up. So this is videocards.com, but quite frankly, there have been so many leaks and so many, there's so much speculation that all kind of points in the same direction that I think anyone's pretty much as credible as anyone else when it comes to Radeon R9 Fury, as it is rumored to be going to be called. So the current sort of general consensus among rumors is that Radeon R9 390X and down are going to be rebrands. Maybe not straight rebrands, because it was also revealed that AMD's, oh, and I'm gonna screw it up because there's so many code names. I believe it was Tonga 384-bit. Let's just have a quick look. Yes. So AMD actually, this is from WCCF Tech, AMD's Tonga GPU, which, again, this is off memory, but I believe our buddy Scott Wasson over at Tech Report was pretty damn sure was a 384-bit memory controller capable chip, even though the only card it's appeared in is a 256-bit memory controller card, like memory interface card. It looks like, if that's who said it, and I'm pretty darn sure it looks like he was right. So even though the current rumor is that anything 390X and down is basically going to be rebadges of current GPUs, we might get some curveballs thrown in there, especially if AMD decides to do a fully enabled Tonga. So the rumor then is that the Fiji GPU is going to appear in a Halo-type card, much like Nvidia's Titan series, and it's going to be called the Fury, which if you've been following formerly ATI, but now AMD, graphics cards for a really long time, might be a bit of a familiar name. Rage Fury? Anybody remember those? So it looks like this might be a bit of a throwback kind of name to the old ATI days. But there you go. It's pictured here. Fiji makes a public appearance. There's 4 stacks of high bandwidth memory. Remember, guys, that's one of the things that makes it super high bandwidth. The fact that they are able to put it right next to the GPU instead of having it take up a bunch of space on a board. And there you go. That's it, being shown off by AMD. So this is on videocards.com. Very cool. Current rumors also suggest that Fiji is going to be quite a small graphics card, and given that you don't need a bunch of room on the PCB, it kind of makes sense. But you know what? I kind of want to do a straw poll about this. Straw poll. Do you guys feel like a smaller graphics card, does it feel like you're getting less for your money? Does a small graphics card make your e-peen feel inadequate? Because it's not like Nvidia's never done this before. I mean, the GTX980 was a second from the top tier card, effectively, and it had that tiny short PCB, and then it had like that penis extension, as I called it at the time, plastic shroud extension that made the card actually bigger. That reduced compatibility with, here, let's, okay, so let's come up with a nonsense option. So Nvidia's actually done that before, but if you water cool, so they hurt compatibility with cases in order to make it like seem bigger and also to have room for the blower fan, but that's neither here nor there. And guys who water cooled those things ended up with like this like badass looking motherboard and like huge RAM with lights all over it, and then this like itty bitty graphics card, and it kind of like, I almost felt like it was like a way to get you to buy a GTX980 just to get a decent sized card so it would look cool in your system. So I want to hear from you guys. Does a small graphics card make your e-peen feel inadequate? So if you bought a Fiji for, you know, let's say similar price, let's say somewhere between GTX980 Ti pricing, so, you know, $650, and like Titan X pricing, so $1,000, would you feel like you got ripped off if it was small? We've got 47% of you saying, no, it's no big deal, doesn't matter. We've got 35% of you, though, saying that yes, a small graphics card makes me feel inadequate, which is pretty darn interesting, with 18% of you voting for eyeliner, which is great. I mean, if you guys can wear it nearly as well as Johnny Depp, then I feel pretty good for you. All right. Microsoft explains what you'll lose by upgrading to Windows 10. This was posted by Fuzzy Crumpkin. Let's go ahead and copy the link. I can't believe we're like almost half an hour into the show because I have so many topics today. The original article here is from The Verge, so let's go ahead and pull that bad boy up. Go Internet! Microsoft explains what you'll lose because they're offering it, and you guys have probably seen notifications. In fact, I'm screen sharing right now. There you go. So the process goes a little something like this. Get Windows 10. Reserve. Okay. Install. Enjoy. Blah, 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 blah. So here they tell us a bunch of good stuff about it. And then you go ahead and you, I think, something here, whatever. I don't know. I did it on another computer. I don't understand how to do it anymore, apparently. Learn more on windows.com, whatever. So the point is, they're not really talking about some of the things that you are going to lose. So Windows Media Center is going away. So if you're one of the 7 people on Earth who uses Windows Media Center, then you might be a little bit disappointed. And there is no downgrade that I'm aware of. Microsoft seems to be confident enough that this is not a Vista, and people are not going to be clamoring to downgrade and then upgrade later, if at all. New drivers will be required for floppy disks. So if you were still using a floppy disk, you might want to stick with Windows 7 or Windows 8. Cortana will only be available in the US, UK, China, France, Italy, Germany, and Spain at launch. So Canada is getting no love, although that's not necessarily something that upgraders lose, since it's not like they had Cortana anyway. Watching DVDs will require separate playback software. So that's something that they've been including for quite some time and looks like will no longer be included. With that said, I don't watch a ton of DVDs on my computer. In fact, most of the computers that I mostly care about these days are portable ones, and I don't even have DVD drives in them. In fact, a lot of people are building desktops without DVD drives in them. Mine actually has a DVD drive that plays CDs, DVDs, HD DVDs, and Blu-rays, so I'm equipped for any optical media. But the last time I used it was when I convinced myself I was gonna play Alice Madness Returns, and then I never got around to it, and then I eventually pulled it out of the drive because I was sick of it spinning up every time I turned on my computer and got annoyed. So there you go. Maybe you use a DVD drive. I personally don't. What else we got here? Windows Hello biometric passwords will need an infrared camera for facial recognition or a supported fingerprint reader, and Xbox Music and Xbox video streaming apps will be constrained by region-based licenses. This is something very interesting. Pro and Enterprise editions will be able to defer updates. So that is to say, they'll be able to say, yeah, no, I'm not ready yet. I'll take an update later. Windows 10, the normal one for like normal people, home people, will not have that option. Updates will be downloaded and installed automatically once they're available. Now, a big part of me is upset about that because from a productivity standpoint, that can be super duper annoying. And a big part of me is upset about that because I don't like someone telling me how to use my computer. But a big part of me kind of goes, oh, you know what? They're right. Because how often is it? If you guys are, you know what? Let's Strawpoll the crap out of this too, because this is kind of a big deal. How often is it? And I want to hear from the guys who do like on the side or professional tech work for like family or friends or in a store. So Windows updates, mandatory, yay or nay? Yay, nay. How many of you guys have a machine brought into your shop or given to you that's like, oh, it's really slow and it's got lots of viruses, and you kind of sit there and go, well, gee, maybe if you'd allowed your computer to install an update once in the last, I don't know, 4 years, you wouldn't be having this problem. Because it's not necessarily about you. It's about most of the users out there, and if Windows updates being rolled out more quickly means that it's less easy for malware to propagate and for computers to be compromised, is that not good for us all as a whole? I understand that bandwidth constraints are a big problem for some people, and I get that, but yeah, geez, I don't know. It looks like you guys are pretty divided on this as well, with 47% of you, 48% figuring yay, you know, let's make them mandatory, 39% of you saying nay, and 13% of you all agreeing with each other that surfing is cool. So, yeah, I wish that I could kind of go on a tirade now and say, this is the right thing, this is the answer, and they've got it wrong or they've got it right, but I don't have a clear answer. One thing that I do know is that, you know, as a professional organization, like here at work, you know, as a pro user, I might pay a little extra for a pro license to not have to, you know, just have our computers randomly install updates and shut down or whatever the case may be. So, gee, man, I don't know. SSDs continue to get cheaper. This was posted on the forum by eChondo. Let me go ahead and post the link here. Sandisk has a 2 terabyte SSD for $1,000. Now, 2 terabyte SSDs are not necessarily the newest thing in the world. In fact, we were talking on WAN Show about a 6 terabyte SSD not that long ago. 2 terabytes for $1,000 means 50 cents per gig. And I remember everyone wanted that $1 per gig mark. That was what everyone wanted. And then it happened, and then SSDs exploded and went mainstream. The fact that we're seeing this now, if I'm a hard drive maker, boy am I afraid. Because Moore's Law dictates that this is going to be half the price in, I believe it's a year. So every year we double the transistor density or blah, 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 blah. So this should be half the price in a year, maybe even cheaper once SanDisk has a little bit of competition here. That is incredible, because it's not that everyone needs a 2 terabyte boot drive. In fact, I don't think everyone needs a 2 terabyte boot drive, and I think that the amount of storage that people need as a boot drive is going to intersect with the speed at which SSDs are increasing in capacity, so it's going to happen even sooner. SSDs aren't going to have to catch up to hard drives. So people are going to need their bulk storage. They're going to have a NAS, or they're going to have a Dropbox account that they pay way too much for, or whatever else the case may be. They're going to have their bulk magnetic storage, and then they're only going to need, I think, 512 gigs is lots, and 1 terabyte is as much as we'll ever need. And don't quote me on that, I know, but 1 terabyte was kind of a magic point for hard drives when people, that was like the time when people stopped caring about new hard drives. 1 terabyte was a super magic time for hard drives. I think affordable 1 terabyte drives is going to be a super magic time for SSDs as well, because that's enough to have a handful of games installed, even if you're a gamer, and if you're going to start streaming games over the internet, especially for the ones where Twitch responsiveness is not that important, that storage space locally could become even less relevant. It's enough to have a lot of games installed. It's enough to have a fair chunk of movies. You can always have an external drive for some additional movies or other media. Ugh. Wow. Super scary. So it's the Extreme 900 Portable SSD. It has a 1.92 terabyte formatted size. There will also be 480 and 960 gig versions, and has a maximum performance rating of 850 megabytes per second. Doesn't specify reads or writes. It's equipped with a USB 3.1 interface, and they'll have a 3-year warranty on these new drives. So stay tuned, guys, because anything that shows up in an external drive is going to be in an internal drive, and as performance continues to scale, SSDs are going to just keep make more and more and more sense all the time. And you know what's funny is, because back when SSDs were still gaining traction, there would be every SSD video I did was just full of comments about how nobody needs an SSD and it doesn't matter and don't you have 2 seconds to wait? And now people are finally mostly clued in to the fact that it's way more than 2 seconds. And yes, it's worth it. The trade-off is worth it. It's huge. It could be 30 seconds when you're launching an application, depending on what else you've got going on your computer at a time. And that could be 30 seconds now, and then 30 seconds a minute from now. It's a big deal. Yeah. I'm a huge SSD advocate, as you guys probably know at this point. There's a USB drive with USB Type A and Type C, although I actually hadn't looked at the article for this one yet because I assumed that I knew what we were talking about. Here we go. I assumed I knew what we were talking about, and I thought it was something from another company, but apparently this is Sandisk showing off one at Computex. This is the way that USB Type-C is going to go mainstream, having it also on drives that feature USB Type-A, so you have that compatibility with something like a MacBook, as well as with the whatever other computer you own that obviously doesn't have a Type-C connector, since you probably don't own both a Chromebook, Pixel latest gen, and a MacBook. So a way to actually get data onto it in order to put onto your MacBook. This is going to be really common, I think, until USB Type-C just goes completely ubiquitous and all the other connectors pretty much go away. But one of the things that I'm happy to see is not everyone is diving headfirst into just USB Type-C devices. No, that seems to be mostly Apple that wants to do that, because as much as Type-C has been vetted in, you know, a laboratory somewhere, it has not been field tested yet. And before I have a bunch of motherboards and laptops that only have Type-C connectors on them, I would love to have a little bit of experience actually using the thing. All right. So Intel has been showing off Broadwell. This was posted by Zmule. Let's go ahead and copy the link here. So Broadwell for desktops, we've already seen Broadwell in the Core M, so we've got Broadwell for mobile devices already, but of course Broadwell for desktops is kind of a big deal, or is it? So Tom's Hardware has got their review up of the 5775C and the 5675C, and basically what it comes down to is, dang it Tom's, can you not please? Basically, what it comes down to is, yup, performance has not really changed a lot in terms of, you know, gaming with a discrete GPU. I sure wish this would work a little better for me here. But the onboard graphics looks like it has pretty much killed any possibility of, oh, for crying out loud, any possibility of discrete grade low-end graphics cards existing pretty well ever again. So I'm going to make sure I'm on the right dang page here. There we go. So let's have a look at these performance numbers from Tom's. Good guys over there as well. Actually, same ownership as AnandTech these days. Look at that. So that's BioShock Infinite at 1080p. Low settings, mind you. No anti-aliasing. Running at 86 frames per second average on the Core i5. That's incredible. I mean, AMD was king of the integrated graphics ever since they launched the APU concept. But Intel, quietly, slowly but surely, has been improving the integrated graphics on their mainstream chips as well, to the point where now, holy cow, if I'm AMD, I am a little bit scared, because people ask me what CPU to buy all the time. And if they're using integrated graphics for some light gaming, or it's like a computer at grandma's house and the grandkids come over once in a while, maybe they, you know, bring a game and they're staying over for the weekend and they don't want it to just completely not run at all, I'd say get an APU. Wow, if they don't have that going for them anymore, that is deeply worrying if you're into AMD continuing to make sense on the low-end onboard graphics scene. Now, I can't find it in the Tom's article right now, but there's actually some pretty good die shots out there of Broadwell and how, like, literally half of the die is not CPU, which should make sense given that we know that Intel can cram, 8 cores in an enthusiast-grade CPU these days. So the fact that they're only putting 4 on the mainstream ones means they probably had a lot of room left over. Here's a scary thought, too. Oh, wow. Imagine this for a moment. If Intel actually did, like, a dedicated chip for gamers, where it had no onboard graphics, but it actually slot, because AMD's done this before. On the FM2 platform, I believe, or FM2 Plus, they did non-APUs. They did just CPUs. Imagine if Intel did that, where they took something like a Broadwell or the upcoming Skylake, and they just chopped off the GPU and did a pure gaming SKU. It would cost them half as much, okay, obviously, plus R&D, but the actual material cost would be half what the one with the GPU built into it would be. How scary is that? If Intel could deliver 4790K performance to anyone who's planning to put a graphics card in for half the price, for $149.99. I don't even know what AMD would sell at that point, but I don't think Intel's really that into putting AMD out of business anyway, so I guess it's really a non-issue. Speaking of non-issues, hopefully you guys don't have an issue with us doing our sponsors for the week. So sponsor number 1 is lynda.com, and if you guys don't know what lynda.com is, then you probably don't watch this show enough. So shame on you. And if you do know what lynda.com is, but you're not using it, then I will refresh your memory. It's used by millions of people around the world. Isn't that incredible? Like, how massive an online video education thing can be, and how Google can't even figure out how to make YouTube profitable with so much educational content on it. I mean, I guess Lynda differentiates by, well, curating the content a lot and ensuring that the courses are taught by industry experts that you can trust, by making sure the production values are good, by focusing on particular verticals. So, like, you're not going to go on lynda.com to learn how to make a bead necklace. You can go on lynda.com to learn about business, learn about Adobe applications like Photoshop or Premiere, so video editing, learning things like office productivity suites if you're looking to, get a new job or get back in the workforce. So I guess it differentiates itself in that way, but plans start at $25 a month, and what's cool about it is for 10 days you can get a free all-you-can-eat trial and find out if lynda.com is right for you. So visit lynda.com/wanshow, I always point at the wrong side, lynda.com/wanshow to join today and start learning. Our second sponsor, and these guys have been with us forever through the good and the bad, Dollar Shave Club. They let us do pretty much anything in our sponsor spots. Maybe today I won't even talk about shaving at all. I'll just talk about butt wiping, which would actually be on topic because they do have their One Wipe Charlie's peppermint scented butt wipes for men. No, but seriously, Dollar Shave Club, we've done like some crazy stuff. We did a how-to basic parody, which they were just like, wow, that was pretty out there. Maybe it would be best if you didn't do that again. So maybe I won't do anything that crazy today. I'll just tell you guys what the point of Dollar Shave Club is. It's the turn your brain off and still look good service for taking care of your face. Once a month, for just a few bucks, you get razors, you can get their aftershave, you can get their Dr. Carver's shave butter, which goes on clear so you can see what you're doing, and you can be using a fresh razor every week instead of like just dragging a dull, scrap of metal across your face, or worrying about the hassle of remembering to buy razors or specifically going out for them when you need one and buying them at a store, where hilariously, at least here in Canada and presumably in the States, since this is one of the things that Dollar Shave Club has in their kit for how to pitch Dollar Shave Club, since a lot of stores put the razors behind lock and key since they are such a theft magnet because they're too expensive. But with Dollar Shave Club, you don't have to worry about other people stealing them, causing you to have to pay more because they keep everything in a warehouse and ship it to you when you need it. So head over to dollarshaveclub.com/Linus to start shaving time and shaving money. Which leads us to our last one, Freshbooks. And Luke's not here to try and tie all of these sponsors together, which is fine because I don't think Freshbooks is really that related to Dollar Shave Club. It's more for people who run their own business, whether you're someone who needs to shave or someone like me who could, throw a Dollar Shave Club razor across their face once every 3 days and you guys would never know the difference. FreshBooks is for small business owners who want to use a solution that lets them spend their time actually doing work and making money instead of figuring out how to account for the money and actually get paid. So it's a cloud-based accounting tool that lets you do things like log your hours for a job, send bills out to your clients for the job, see that they've actually received it. So if they're like, oh yeah, gee, sorry, I didn't pay, oh, I didn't get it, blah, blah, blah. No, they let you take care of that, and they actually allow you to bill online. So instead of running around dealing with paper this and you know, writing down that, you use FreshBooks to keep yourself organized, keep your clients paying you so you can spend your time doing what makes you money instead of spending your time in front of your computer at the end of the day trying to sort all this stuff out when you're just exhausted and would rather just sleep. So use a solution that makes you feel like a boss. Visit freshbooks.com/WAN and claim your free trial today. And don't forget to enter WAN in the How Did You Hear About Us? So let's move on to our next topic, which I straight up don't know what it is because I actually forgot to look at what our next topic is. Oh, this is a really crappy one, but is actually related to something that we've been talking about a fair bit on the show lately. I was posted by Exia on the forum. I'm going to go ahead and post this in Twitch. But the headline here is actually kind of heartbreaking. It's an article from MSN.com. Disney terminated your job. By the way, can you please train your replacement? So, last take after layoff at Disney, train foreign replacements. So, yeah, pretty much employees, some of which have worked at Disney for 10 years. And there's a really heartbreaking story about one guy that actually had a performance review from his direct supervisor after he'd been told by that person's boss that he was being terminated and had to train his cheaper import replacement, that said that he was being recommended for a raise and that he had saved the company a ton of money, and it was like a really positive performance review. So anyway, data systems employees, they monitored the computers in industrial buildings nearby, making sure millions of ticket sales, store purchases, and hotel reservations went through without a hitch. Some of them thought the meetings with their manager had been called since they were receiving a bonus for their stellar work. In actuality, 250 employees were called in and told they would be laid off. The jobs were transferred to people on temporary visas for highly skilled technical work brought in by an outsourcing firm. The jobs were... Oh, so over the next 3 months, some employees were required to train their replacements to do the job that they lost. So for the first month, their replacement shadows them. For the second month, they do it side by side. And for the third month, they basically don't do anything and just kind of watch their job being done by their new person. So if they remained for the 90 days to train their replacement, they were offered a stay bonus of 10% of the severance pay on top of their severance pay. Yeah, so there's a couple of things happening. Number one is outsourcing is still very much real, and number two is the crazy thing about this is it's nothing compared to when Disney automates that job. Who knows how long from now? I mean, we talked about the McDonald's restaurant that is opening with no employees whatsoever on WAN Show a while ago. Well, I shouldn't say whatsoever. They have a skeleton crew to oversee the machines, but everything from taking orders to making burgers to delivering the burger to the customer is going to be handled by robots. And what that is going to mean, because, you know, I got to look at something like that as, you know, like, is McDonald's just shooting themselves in the foot? I mean, who eats at McDonald's if not, like, and no offense if you eat at McDonald's. I eat at McDonald's from time to time too. Like, it's not like, but I mean, who relies on McDonald's if not your lower income people? So, and like, I actually, my badminton doubles partner was a longtime McDonald's employee. He ate like almost every meal at McDonald's. So you're gonna go, you're McDonald's, and you're gonna basically not just take away jobs and income from, but you're gonna piss off all these lower income people who presumably have families and friends who, you know, maybe there's a couple lower income people there as well. You're gonna go and piss off all these people for the sake of saving a couple bucks. Who's gonna eat at your restaurant anymore? And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely wrong. And maybe McDonald's business is going to completely take off because the robots are faster, more sanitary, they make fewer errors. I don't know. I don't know. It just, I don't see myself ever doing this. I also am not in a position where I'm running, you know, a huge multi-billion-dollar multinational corporation where every penny I save literally results in, you know, tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. But I like having a team of people that's, you know, paid a living wage and is happy with the work that they're doing. And I just, I don't know, it grosses me out to see stuff like this. Speaking of, oh man, so fully automated. This was posted by Buzu on the forum, and Asus has rolled out the first fully automated graphics card production line. And this fascinates me from a technological standpoint, but ties very well into this last topic. And we've got the original article here, one of them from Tom's Hardware. I've actually asked Asus to give me a lot more details on this, and I would actually love to get my hands on one of the graphics cards made with it, because I don't know if you guys know this, but graphics cards up till now still had some hand soldering, and I believe some of the QA was actually done by hand. So their new production method is an industry first and should deliver more reliable, higher quality graphics cards than before by completely taking out the human element. So hopefully this is going to go ahead and load a larger image at some point here. Doopity doop. There you go. Look how beautiful that PCB is. So the geeky tech in me goes, holy cow, that is sexerific. I mean, it is so clean. Everything is perfect. But Asus isn't going to give you a discount on it, I'm sure. And I mean, as much as, you know, some people might go, well, you know, soldering components on graphics cards at the last stage of production is a crappy job. It was a job for someone, and they do not have it anymore. So, but this is like, so again, my inner geek kind of goes, holy crap, that's awesome. Because one of the things that you can achieve here is less oxidation on the graphics card, because you can actually produce them in an environment without oxygen. So what? So my graphics card could last for 20 years? That seems like a pretty good thing. I don't know, man. So there's some speculation that this could lead to longer warranties, better reliability, like all this cool stuff. So the first card produced using Auto Extreme was the 20th anniversary edition card. So I've actually asked Asus for a sample so we can check this out in person. So there's a really good thread on the forum. This was posted by Mech77. I'm going to go ahead and post this here. All right. Sorry, I'm a little slower paced than usual. I'm trying to keep up here without my lovely co-host. But basically, there's a YouTube video to watch about DirectX 12's multi-GPU rendering. So there's a demo here from Oxide Games, and you guys should definitely check that out. I'll post that link in the thread that goes up after WAN show. But so currently, the way that multi-GPUs are combined is that each GPU in a dual card config takes turns rendering each frame. And back in the early days of multi-GPU, Crossfire and SLI, it was actually done a little bit differently. So you could have alternate frame rendering, and that was usually what would work best, but sometimes you could do tiled stuff, and there were actually other modes. But the way that works is both GPUs have to be nearly identical, run at the same clock speed, and have the same data in their video memory, resulting in redundancies and limitations in terms of which cards can be used and how the resources can be used. So something that's a huge confusion point, and that Nvidia and AMD frankly don't help people with, is that if you buy a card like a GTX980, okay, which is pretty much two 670/680 sort of cards, it'll call itself oh crap, 690, what was that, a 6 gig card? Or was it a 4 gig card? Whatever, I don't care. I think it was a 4 gig card. So it'll call itself a 4 gig card because there's technically 4 gigabytes of GPU memory on board, but actually, usably, there's only 2 gigs because it has to have 2 copies. It has to have 2 copies of the data in memory. And so yes, that was a 4 gig card. So now each GPU can render only a specific part of the frame, and video memory can be stacked as each card is actually working on a separate aspect of the frame. So it's up to the developer to implement this, which means pretty much, and the video actually shows an integrated GPU being used in conjunction with a dedicated GPU. So here we go. So which means that in my mind, we're pretty much not going to see this implemented very well, if at all, but it's a very cool piece of technology for the future. I'm just trying to find... Oh, bloody hell. Well, whatever. You can check out this video, and I'll definitely link it if you want to get a little bit more detail in terms of how it works. Very cool tech. Not sure if it'll have any practical use, just because if you guys already look at how broken established stuff like SLI that's been around for years, that Nvidia is actively working on, you look at how well that's working in some modern games, and you kind of go, oh, crap. Because quite frankly, is Nvidia going to have any incentive to help a game developer implement this? No. Is AMD going to want to do it? Maybe, but hard to say. This I actually talked about a little bit. Here we go. This I actually talked about a little bit in my 980 Ti video, but this could be a big problem. This is definitely, this is from Tech Power Up here, and was originally posted, let me just grab that OP here. Was originally posted on the forum by Big Stroons. This could be a big problem for AMD over the next little bit here. I don't know if you guys are going to remember this, but I'm not even sure if I remember this correctly. I'm trying to remember who had the DirectX 11 advantage. I want to say AMD. First DirectX 11 card. I want to say it was 6000 series. I really don't remember. I suck. Well, whatever. The point is, having an advantage in terms of what level of DirectX is supported by your cards. Maybe AMD was doing 11.1 first or something like that. Someone's going to correct me. Thank you in advance. Having an advantage in terms of your DirectX support level can be a huge selling point for gamers. And whether it actually translates into something meaningful for the person who owns that card that's like the first one to support DirectX 9 is highly debatable. I mean, I know AMD had an advantage back in the DirectX 9 days when it was the 9000 series versus the FX series. But that was a whole other issue because not only were the FX 5800 series like not even properly DirectX, they were just kind of sucked in general. So ATI was selling a lot more cards at the time just on the sheer merit of their performance in DirectX 8 games at the time. And that's a big issue, is like whether there's a real advantage to owning that first DirectX 12.1 card is yet to be seen, because DirectX 12.1 capable games might show up and a GTX 980 could look like a joke, even running it with those features on, and actually we need, you know, 10,000 80s in order to really get the most out of it anyway. But that will sell gamers on games. And DirectX 12 is looking like, yes, we'll have support on pretty much any DirectX 10 card or newer, but that doesn't mean we have all the support. So you're going to have the low-level access for game developers to get more out of the hardware. That's great. You're going to have that low CPU overhead on pretty much the entire backlog there. But what you won't have is some pretty cool new rendering features. So one of them is volume tiled resources. So this is an evolution of tiled resources. So that is basically reusing resources rather than restoring them or re-rendering them all the time. So this is volume tiled resources. Are you jumping in because you want to talk DirectX 12.1 or just in general? Hi? Are you guys doing something to me?
Yeah.
Oh.
No.
Okay. Oh, that was Ed. He said hi. Thanks, Ed. So volume tiled resources, and this loads the entire texture to memory, not only just along X and Y axes, but also a third dimension. So this is like a performance improvement. So while it's a rendering technique, it could be something that just straight up improves performance. Conservative rasterization, so that is a means of drawing polygons with additional pixels that makes it easier for two polygons to interact with each other. Like, you know how, like, the character's, you know, shoulder armor will just, like, dip into their shoulder? from time to time. This could help with stuff like that, and raster ordered views, which is a means to optimize raster loads in the order in which they appear in an object. So practical applications include improved shadows. So these are only going to be supported. Are you joining me? Or yeah, sure. Come on in. We've got Nick joining us. So these are only features that are going to work on cards that support DirectX 12 underscore like feature level 1. So that is Maxwell, not 750 Ti is my understanding. So second gen Maxwell, 960, 970, 980, and Titan X and 980 Ti, and then AMD's Tonga, and then presumably Fiji, which is a card that's going to be inaccessible to most people thanks to its price anyway. Because what we don't know is how much it costs, but what we do know is that it's not cheap.
Right.
So, what do you got? Do you want to talk? Do you want to talk 65-core smartphone?
Yeah. Let's talk about the 65-core smartphone. I thought this was pretty funny. So Intel created a mock 65-core smartphone where one of their principal engineers, Francois Pied-Noël.
You're actually it's a little bit off frame here.
Okay.
I'll move over. There we go. That's cozy.
Francois Pied-Noël. He made remarks during an Intel benchmarking session at Computex on Thursday that this is the world's first 65-core smartphone. He said, more than a server. But what it really was the, 4-core Zenfone, is it?
Yeah.
And then a 61-core Xeon that he essentially just taped to the back of it. So, kind of taking pot shots at the competition a little bit after the whole Deca-core thing from MediaTek.
And you know what? I agree with Intel 100% that the core race on particularly mobile is really silly right now. And I think there's one other major smartphone maker. I'm trying to remember what they're called. Oh, what are they? It starts with an A. They only have dual-core smartphones, even though everyone else is going quad and octa. Right, Apple. I think Apple also agrees that we don't need a core count race in smartphones right now. On PCs, where we're finally getting multi-threaded workloads, whether it's 3D rendering or video outputting, or DirectX 12 coming and giving us finally some multi-threading awareness for games. On desktops, yes, multi-core makes sense and has made sense for quite some time. In mobile, we need strong single cores for a long time still. And so a 65-core smartphone would be a little silly. A 10-core smartphone is probably a little silly unless the strategy would be a super strong dual core and like 8 super low power auxiliary cores or whatever the case may be.
That's kind of Intel's point, right? Is that you're not going to be able to push 10 cores in a form factor for a smartphone. Like, it's going to be 1 to 2 cores that are doing all the work, and then the other 8 are just there for marketing purposes, essentially. Just like, look at how many cores we have.
Yeah, because there are implementations that make sense, like a big small implementation where,
right.
I mean, we've even seen this, octa-core processors that have, so there's 4 big ones and 4 small ones, so the phone can literally turn off the big ones when you're not doing anything intensive. And Intel has quad-core smartphone processors, so there's that. But yeah, we don't need 10. And it'll be a long time, if ever, that we need more than 4. And I with ever asterisk, at some point I'm sure we will.
I don't think that'll be during the Silicon Age, though.
Yeah, it might take something completely different to come along in the future. So what do we got next? Official Valve Steam Machine pre-orders to reach some customers October 16th. This was posted by Good Bytes. Oh, and that last one was posted by... Oh shoot! I had actually had to open the article here to see who posted it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I want to give you credit. Fuzzy Yellow. So let's go ahead and pull this one up. This one, the original article here is from Polygon, and it looks like official Steam machines are actually a thing, but this is not the kind of Steam machine that tickles my enthusiast funny bone. This looks like pretty much a collaboration with Alienware to just have Alienware's Steam machine be the official Steam machine, and so it's going to be pretty low power. It's not going to be particularly upgradable. Yeah. So I don't know what to say.
Steam controller's coming out.
Yeah, Steam controller.
Cool.
It'll have a custom graphics core that'll perform at about the level of an 860M. So if you want to play anything sort of more complicated than Super Meat Boy at 1080p, then you're not going to be that thrilled with the experience. There's a great video of for the Steam controller teaser showing it being used in games that looks really, really compelling. So everything from top-down RTS to shooters, and whoever's been using it probably has like 1,000 hours logged on it. Yeah. So yeah,
they're looking pretty pro with the haptic feedback on that.
They're looking pretty pro, but if you guys haven't seen the finished Steam controller yet, then there's a picture of what it's going to look like right there. So we end up with something that at least bears a resemblance to a normal game controller. Like you kind of got a D-pad, haptic touch D-pad sort of. They went and they put that texture on there for the D-pad lovers.
It's still just like the full circle is touch sensitive or whatever. It's all trackable.
You've got an analog stick, you've got your ABXY, and then you've got your other touchpad. And then what's really cool, and they show how this is being used, is the reverse buttons. So you've got a squeeze in here, you've got the ones up here, and they show that being used in some really cool ways. Like we've seen aftermarket stuff like this. Like we actually got some controllers in for review that had buttons remapped to the bottom, so that you didn't have to, so that you could aim and zoom and fire at the same time.
Like scuff and stuff like that.
Stuff like that. Yeah. We thought the implementation was very poor. We didn't end up reviewing it, but Valve's looks like it might be okay. So
I'm going to be like the Luke on this one and just say I could see this being a lot of fun for games like Civ. Just kind of sitting on the couch and playing Civ and laying back and kind of zoning out. I don't see a whole lot of use for it in, like you said, FPS games. Sure, it's better than a normal controller maybe, but you're still just going to get beat by everyone with a mouse and keyboard as far as I can tell. I haven't played with the thing, so maybe I'm totally wrong. But, yeah, even Valve even says it's not meant to replace a mouse and keyboard. It's meant to bring a better couch experience to PC gaming. So I think that they're doing a good job with that.
Meanwhile, you've got Corsair. Hold on, couch.
Oh
yeah.
Lapdog.
Lapdog. Thank you. There it is. Meanwhile, you've got guys like AnandTech and even Corsair jumping in, trying to bring the mouse and keyboard experience to the couch, rather than trying to get you to compromise with the controller. And I admire their efforts here, but for me, I'm going to at least give Valve's controller a shot here. So this was posted by Bleedman0xx on the forum here. I'm going to go ahead and copy it. And finally, Valve is allowing refunds on Steam in a way that is actually meaningful and not just like, oh, you know, once in, you know, a blue moon, if ever, and boopity boop. So you can now request a refund for nearly any purchase on Steam for any reason. Wow.
That's actually kind of insane.
Which shouldn't be insane. Finally, digital distribution. Okay. So, back in the old days of physical media, you could return a game. This was pre-CD keys. This was back when the physical media represented the game. You didn't own the game anymore if you didn't have that disc. Now, CD keys came along, and all of a sudden that disc meant nothing. Once you'd registered an account with Blizzard or whatever the case may be, I mean, you could be returning them nothing. And you might as well be returned. Like, they weren't going to get a credit. So then digital came along and adopted that policy for some reason, even though platforms like Steam are their own DRM. They know if you've played the game. I mean, that was something that I could see a physical store being upset about. Well, you were just using us as a free rental. You finished the game and brought it back. Screw you. Valve knows. They even know where you die on their maps in Counter-Strike. Like, they know how much you played the game. So now you will be issued a full refund of your purchase within a week of approval. If you have played the game for, I believe it's less than 2 hours, so 14 days, as long as you've played it for less than 2 hours for pre-purchased titles. Refunds on in-game purchases.
I think that's a really big one, especially with the prevalence of stuff like Counter-Strike items. Like, did you know there's some knives in Counter-Strike now that are like $1,500 US for a knife skin?
So within 48 hours of purchase, so long as it has not been consumed, modified, or transferred, refunds on DLC, and if blah, 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 refundable within 14 days of purchase, and if the underlying title has not been played for less than 2 hours since the DLC was purchased, blah, 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 blah. Steam Wallet refunds within 14 days of purchase if they were purchased on Steam and you don't have to use any of those funds. And refunds on bundles. You can now receive a full refund for any bundle purchased on the Steam store so long as none of the items in the bundle have been transferred and if the combined usage of time is less than 2 hours. So 2 hours is the magic time, which honestly is pretty generous. No refunds on movies, because as long as you've used this movie for less than 2 hours. It's like, yeah, I missed the end credits.
Thanks.
So, refunds are designed to remove the risk from purchasing titles on Steam, not as a way to get free access to games. If it appears to us that you are abusing refunds, we may stop offering them to you. We do not consider it abuse to request a refund on a title that was purchased just before a sale and then immediately rebuying that title for the sale price. So this is effectively Valve offering price protection even, if you've played a game for less than 2 hours. That's cool, hey? Way to go.
I think it's pretty sweet.
Way to go, Valve.
Some people in chat are calling me out about saying there was a $1,500 knife. There was one that was rumored to go for $20,000. Like, no one has any real proof of that. And even if it was, that's like a one-off. That's not a market price. That's someone paying way too much for stupid... Like, $1,500 is way too much. Anyway, I'm on a tangent.
Let's have a first Nick's Rants segment.
Yeah. No, nobody wants to hear that. People in chat, this isn't... We talked about this earlier in the week. This isn't in the doc, but people in chat all stream have been asking about the thermal take thing.
Oh.
What's your opinion on that?
What's my opinion? I don't give a rat's ass.
That's why it wasn't in the doc.
So. Yeah, it straight up wasn't in our document for topics to cover this week. If anyone... Okay, you know what? Here, I'm gonna put my computer...
Now, for the official Linus Rant
I'm gonna
segment.
put my computer down. I'm gonna give you guys a little. I'm gonna give you no, it's fine, it's fine. I'm gonna give you guys a little chat, okay? The PC industry is the most inbred, copying everyone, people stealing trade secrets from each other industry that could possibly exist. Remember, these are technology enthusiasts. These are the guys who are inventing 3D printers, okay? And 3D scanners. And, like, better means of ripping each other off all day, okay? And so I'm gonna go and I'm gonna drag someone else into this whole thing. I'm not even gonna talk about thermal take or case labs.
I know where you're going.
Yeah, I'm going there.
Don't go there.
I'm going there.
Don't.
So let's look at a company like Fractal Design. I love Fractal Design. I love Josh. I love Jens. I love Hannes. I'll even tolerate Johan. I'm naming all the people at Fractal Design who I know and like and respect. Fractal Design built their company, their first product, the Define R. They built their company off of taking the AnandTech P180 and doing it better and cheaper than AnandTech. And AnandTech, to this day, in my mind, although I haven't seen their new signature case, to this day, has not found their groove again. And that's the breaks. Because the thing about a case, the thing about a physical object, is that if you can't find a way to patent it, and Josh from Fractal Design has actually been on the record saying, there's only so many ways to manufacture a rectangular box.
He actually brought that up last week on what's Paul and Kyle's show's Awesome Hardware, right?
Awesome Sauce News and Paul's Hardware.
I think their live show is called Awesome Hardware. Sorry guys if that's not correct. But Kyle had Josh on as a guest because Paul's in Taipei for Computex. So Josh actually said in that stream, he went to the old, there's only so many ways that you can make a metal box argument when it was brought up with him. So it's not like these guys aren't aware that that's what's happening.
And the innovation in a case, in my mind, is not in the finished product. Because if I could make a case out of, spider webs and pixie dust, then I could make the best case ever. Of course I could. The innovation in a case is in manufacturing. So if you patent a process for bending aluminum in a way that literally no one else can even make your case, then you innovated.
Yeah.
If you innovate the idea of having, like, okay, NZXT's innovation of removing the 5 1/4 inch bays from the H440, innovative idea, but you can't patent that, and you can't prevent your competitors from making a case with no 5 1/4 inch bays. And NZXT is not a bunch of idiots, and they know that someone is going to, as soon as that case is successful, everyone else and their dog is going to be doing it, because that's just it's an idea. You can't patent an idea, like, well, you can patent an idea, but you can't patent, like, removing a spec, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You can't patent a spec difference.
So, like, you can't patent the idea of executing a case that doesn't have a certain aspect.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that you can't patent an idea, it's that you can't patent an aspect of something that's so ubiquitous.
5 1/4 inch bays existed. Yeah. And you'll have cases with a spec sheet on the side that says 1 times 5 1/4 or 5 times 5 1/4. Yeah. The fact that you just made a case that says 0 times 5 1/4 is not it's not
patentable.
Yeah, that's not patentable.
Yeah.
Whereas the idea of, looking at Inwin's transforming case, where they literally made something that no one else can make, that is innovation. So to me, someone like Case Labs came along and they did something really important. They made easy, spacious, water cooling friendly cases, accessible and affordable and high quality, in a way that, hey, if we're going to start talking about copying people, in a way that who I would consider to be their spiritual predecessor, Mountain Mods, didn't manage to do. That's what Case Labs did. And they did a great job. But if they're going to kind of run and cry foul because someone, copied that idea of making an affordable, roomy, well-thought-out case, I mean, I don't know. To me, it's about actually making it, and it's not necessarily about the idea of having a lot of places for a radiator if you don't actually execute it, or if someone else executes it better. And that is another thing to consider here. Cases... there's more to a case than the spec and the look. And if Case Labs believes that their quality is great, and from my experience with them, it is, then they shouldn't be worried about competition from Thermaltake. Period. So there. That's my take on it. I have talked about it.
Yeah.
And you know what? Oh, I've got people saying, I think the issue is that the people they're buying their cases from is the same manufacturer. Well, yeah. That's the PC industry, man. You think that every power... So when Corsair releases their 80+ platinum power supply, and, everyone else has an 80+ platinum power supply the next week, you think that's not the same thing? Yeah. Come on. Come on. Come on. You think that when NZXT releases the Kraken X40 and Corsair has a single 140mm all-in-one liquid cooler that's also an Asus design, a little while later, you think someone didn't make a deal, a volume agreement, or a payout for a limited time exclusive, and then all of a sudden the design's open to everyone? That's how the PC industry works. Rebadges, rebrands, there's only a few companies actually building things. And they're going to be the ones that are going to hold all the... They're going to hold all the cards.
Yeah.
And they're going to have the power in the long term. There you go.
So apparently Josh wasn't on Awesome Hardware. I don't know where I saw it then.
I've seen him talk about it.
Yeah, he was talking to somebody on one of the shows. I can't remember. I watch a lot of videos every week.
I've got people saying they don't think I get it. Like, I've looked at pictures of the cases. I see the similarity. Sure, yeah. I do. And, like, that's dumb. But, like, it's not like Apple doesn't get all upset when someone makes a phone that's similar to the iPhone, and even they've given up at this point, it looks like. So
somebody was saying Apple could probably patent the 0, 5.5, or 5 1/4 inch bay idea that you had.
Yeah, possibly.
Probably. You're probably right.
They could patent it. I'm not sure if it would be upheld, though.
No, but they would probably patent it. Probably. Anyway.
Apparently it was in Jay's 2 Cents Tech Talk.
Oh, sorry. Jay's 2 Cents.
Yep.
My bad.
Okay, so... Google advertises a Nexus 6 running Windows Phone. Microsoft advertises a Lumia 535 running Android. So the original poster here was Rude. Copy link URL. I actually, you know what's funny is I had some notes in my email because I always forget to open up the doc and like post the things, and I just assumed Valve Steam refunds would be in the doc, and then I kind of went, oh yeah, all the Computex stuff. There's like straight up no room.
I had like 35 topics in the doc, and I was like, well, I have to cut like half of these, not actually, but like a significant amount of these.
And that was like with me not even just like putting stuff in periodically.
Yeah. And that was without the 3-minute conversation we just had about the thing.
So this is cool, hey? I would love to see a future where you get to choose your phone hardware and your OS independently. Yeah.
Apparently some marketing agencies thought that the future was now.
Yeah. So, you know, is this real? It doesn't necessarily look like anything like this is coming anytime soon, but it's also very Illuminati confirmed that both of these mistakes showed up at around the same time. So, you know, I think it'd be super cool. I think it also opens up a can of worms in terms of, you know, compatibility and drivers and blah, 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 that we've been free from on phones up until now. But still very cool stuff. Well, I think I've only really got one more that I really want to hit. The original poster here was Joss, and I think we're going to need a straw poll for you guys here, because... I
literally found this like 5 minutes before the show started, and I was laughing my head off, and Lance was like, what are you laughing at? And I just pointed at my screen. He's like, okay, I think we have to talk about that.
Yeah, so, I know I'm leaving you guys in suspense here, but this is worth it.
Illuminati. The chat's all Illuminati.
Okay, so
no, it needs to be turn up.
No, I just do whatever. I only did that twice in a row, like by accident.
Yeah, but okay.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Okay, well, at any rate, here we go, guys. The original poster here, and I'm gonna post the straw poll now. The original poster here is Joss, and the original article here is from Phone Arena. Here it is. It is a smart wearable called the Sex Machine that keeps track of sex performance metrics. And you wouldn't believe where it's worn unless you saw this GIF. Then you'll probably figure out exactly where it's going to be worn. Now, I can see a lot of, you know, potential, you know, good that could come of this, you know, you know, what's good for him is good for her, and so on and so forth, and you know, there's tons of statistical evidence out there that a healthy sex life, and maybe one that we can, you know, if we can make it healthier, is good for a relationship and all that kind of stuff. But I've also got a lot of people suggesting ways this could be used for evil. Like, Terran's using a great biking app that actually measures, like, it shows, you know, how you performed on a particular, like, a split. Split times. As you bike around compared to other people that have been through that particular... through that particular route. You know, ways you could integrate this into a social...
Through that particular route.
Social network features here. You know, you could see if you're the best performing guy on your street. You know, stuff like that. So I'm going to fire up the straw poll results here. Do you want your sex performance monitored? We've got
no and Deagle.
Definite minority here saying yes. 24% of them are okay with having their sex performance monitored. And I don't even know if this is all going into the cloud or whatever. I haven't actually... We found this right before the show.
It probably is going into the cloud.
Oh, man.
I doubt it's stored locally. Like, I highly doubt it's stored locally.
Can you imagine that? Okay, loading up an Android app. This app requests permission to access your camera, your contacts, your sex performance. Can you even imagine?
Oh, no.
Yeah, we've got more no's coming in now that we're sort of talking about cloud storage.
It would be interesting to see how, say someone's wife has access to this app and she's unhappy in the relationship and she wants to file for divorce, could she use that as evidence?
I don't know. Or, like, can you imagine, like, you know, all the wives and girlfriends getting together and comparing...
Oh, no.
Comparing notes?
You know they would.
I know.
They totally would.
I know.
Oh, man.
That is, like, some not cool stuff right there.
Well, I guess it depends how your performance
Yeah, it
is,
depends.
Linus.
Well, for me, that would be some not cool stuff right there. Straight up. I've actually got one more topic that's sort of just a line. It's a Linus Media Group topic. It's not actual news. But we're working on something that I think is pretty cool. Finally, I get to talk to YouTube, which is kind of neat.
Yeah.
Like, for years, I didn't actually have much interaction with my Google overlords. But we've been in touch all of a sudden, and they've been like super cool with us. And we are working on something, like, it's no secret that this cards feature is coming along with some very similar functionality to annotations, which don't work on mobile. And now cards are going to work on mobile as well. So we've been working on a couple of things. So number one is a way for us to do things like our subscribe call out and like our, hey, we've got cool Linus Tech Tips t-shirts, which by the way we should post in the chat. By the way,
we have cool Linus Tech Tips t-shirts.
Yeah, I'll post a link if you guys want one of the ones that says first on, oh, I can't read, my back hurts. If you want one that says first on the back. I'm
sitting up.
Here we go. We've got these shirts available right now.
Woo! Linus Tech Tips.
You can do that. So we're working on a way to, since cards are not clickable directly, and instead you have to go to like this little eye in the corner in order to find them. We're trying to work on some ways to make that friendly to both mobile and desktop users. And so there's a video here that I'll link in the Twitch chat. But this is the video where we're kind of showing some of the ideas we have for ways that we can get people to know that that's where to go look. Like, subscribe is handled through that little watermark in the bottom now. And then we're trying to, like, this is a rough draft right now, but we're trying to come up with a way that's not totally obnoxious looking, but that will get people to be able to find the things that we're talking about. So, I don't know. That's sort of some of our ideas right now, but we'd love to hear your guys' thoughts.
I think it's pretty cool.
Stuff like that. I like it. I think that hopefully it's a good balance, but yeah. So I guess that's pretty much it.
Some people in chat were asking about LTT fans.
What are they?
Any update?
There is no update, but there will be one. So that's the update. Stay tuned. Stay tuned for the rest of the Computex coverage.
Stay subscribed. That's a good teaser.
Yes.
Watch the rest of the Computex coverage.
Stay subscribed. Don't miss any of the Computex coverage.
And like our videos.
No after party today because it's hot and I'm tired and
I'm sweating. If you couldn't tell, it's disgusting.
And I'm more dressed than you. You're wearing a sleeveless shirt.
I'm also like far more overweight than you are. So there's that.
I didn't say it. I
did.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
There you go.
We should probably do a quick update on. Wait, do they know about the stakes?
No.
Okay, so Nick is losing the bet. Right now, it looks like it's not going that well. We had a bet over how many.
You guys let me down, man.
Yeah, we had a bet over.
No, I'm just kidding. You guys have been awesome.
How many of those shirts we were gonna sell?
To be fair, we still have sold like a ridiculous amount. I'm just a really confident person in our brand, so
I am amazed at how many. Because I told him I didn't even want to do just a straight Linus Tech Tips shirt.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think that people would be into it. Anyway, so here's the link if you guys don't have one yet. But so straight up, depending who wins or loses, there will be a crazy Channel Super Fun. So that's all I'm going to say. If you guys aren't subscribed to Channel Super Fun already, get over there. Channel Super Fun has actually been ramping up lately, I think, in terms of how awesome the content is. We're still doing a video a week over there, so it's not a huge commit. Get over on Channel Super Fun so you don't miss the finale of the Linus Tech Tips shirt. So thank you guys for watching. We'll see you again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. I give up on rolling the outro. Thank you, Nick, for helping me co-host.
You looked pretty lonely in here, so...
I was lonely.
Oh.
Thank you to Dollar Shave Club, Freshbooks, and Linda for being our sponsors today. And thank you to all 6,300 of you for watching live. You guys are awesome.